KCL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Friday. Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Last show of the 2022 year. Winding down the work week here. Long weekend for a lot of folks. A lot of football to get to over the next couple of hours. Fired up to do it. Not going to have any guests today. We're just going to hammer through some football. Saints have their season on the line coming up on Sunday. There's bowl games galore. College football playoff. Got the SEC teams in action in some games that are really important, some games that aren't as important. And, of course, LSU has a game before we have another show. This, to me, and maybe some feel differently, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm in the business of talking about what's relevant, taking feedback from listeners every which way that we can. And I think there are a few factors as to what's contributing to why I feel this way, but like it just doesn't, I can't remember a bowl game that was less talked about than this one for LSU. I really can't. It's even last year when the Texas Bowl was not where LSU thought they were headed. It was a really tough season, the second year in a row. It's a late night weekend game, midweek game. But still, Brian Kelly had just come in that month. There was some juice to that around the program. You had the intrigue of what the heck is this going to look like offensively with a wide receiver playing quarterback. At least there was, I think, some talk about it. We haven't talked about this game almost at all. And I realized that LSU was sitting at such a wonderful spot coming off that UAB game. You had a chance. You were right there at fifth in the college football playoff. You had a chance to go play a terrible A&M team, and then maybe a chance to shock the world and beat Georgia and get in the playoff, win the SEC. And then you lay an egg in College Station. You get routed against Georgia. The air's totally out of the balloon there. And you're stuck in a bowl that you didn't really think you were going to be in as of a month ago. And then you add in the fact that Purdue, your opponent, one, has no sex appeal. It's in West Lafayette. They've got no real history, no pizzazz. There's nothing to Purdue at all. And they don't care because their coach is gone. Their quarterback's gone. Their wide receivers are gone. And then you couple in, for today's purposes, it's on a Monday. It kind of feels far away because it's Friday and you got a New Year holiday between it. Maybe that's it. It's just all those factors piled in. But it just feels like we haven't really cared about this game. You want to talk about it? I'm gonna talk about it. Look, there are a lot of opt-outs, but LSU is in a pretty good spot relative to a lot of teams in the country in terms of their roster for this game. We know at this point that the defensive front has been ravaged by opt-outs. But look at the offense LSU is going to put out there on Monday. You'll have Will Campbell at left tackle, Miles Frazier, Charles Turner. You'll have Anthony Bradford. You'll have Emory Jones. Your offensive line's ready to roll. Your starting quarterback had a month off after being banged up the last 2 weeks of the season. He's back. You've got some running backs that have given you something over the last couple of weeks. Williams, Emory. And then out wide, you got Mason Taylor at tight end, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Kyron Lacey. Maybe Landon Abieta steps in there and makes some play. I mean, your offense is pretty healthy. It's pretty engaged. It should be a very competent unit on Monday. To me, just go score 30 or 35 points on these guys. You want a key to the game? That's not really a key to the game. That's what should happen. This is a Purdue defense that gave up 43 to Michigan, 35 to Wisconsin, 37 to Nebraska. Penn State scored 35. They've been mediocre on defense a lot of the year. LSU's offense, yeah, Kayshawn's not playing. Jack Besh left. Hilton got hurt. Your running back depth took some hits along the way. But you ought to go out there and score a bunch of points in this game. Now, defensively, up front, your depth is shot. I don't know that your talent is shot, but your depth is toast. Just in terms of talent on LSU's defensive front for Monday, Mekhi Wingo is a third-team All-American this year. Was a freshman All-SEC player last year. He's got talent. Jacobian Guillory's an SEC player in his third year. Savion Jones and Quincy Wiggins probably going to play a lot on the edge. I don't know, the talent's been the issue there. Maybe experience, maybe technique to this point. In Quincy Wiggins' spot, he's not the oldest guy. But talent-wise, your front is not devoid. It's not like your quarterback room last year where everyone was gone. You've got some talent in front. You got no depth. And that's what we'll get to in a second, but you got no depth. You do have some talent, though. You got Greg Penn, DeMario Tolan, Micah Baskerville, Harold Perkins at linebacker. Those are your guys. At corner, you got Jart Bernard-Converse in the game. Colby Richardson, Jay Ward, Greg Brooks, Joe Fouché, Major Burns, Sage Ryan. That's kind of your secondary. You just hurting up front. That's it on defense. And yesterday I said, okay, Purdue has thrown the ball more times than anybody in the Big Ten. So what are they going to do? Are they going to be the team that throws it as much as anybody in the Big Ten, even though your quarterback's gone, your top two pass catchers are gone? I don't think so. There have been some times where they have leaned on the ground game. Devin Mockabee is their running back. You will hear his name a lot on Monday. He was a walk-on. He's been granted a scholarship. He had 30 carries in the Nebraska game. He had 28 against Illinois, 23 against Wisconsin. I think he's going to get the ball a ton. So, for me, if you're LSU, job number one in this game, stop the run. Bring numbers up there. Run your run stunts. Make that the focus. I know Purdue's the high-flying team that wants to throw it all over the place. They still got a Brom calling plays. They got a sixth-year senior quarterback. Their identity is to throw the ball. Stop the run. Let's see if the guy who's been in college for 6 years and has started 2 games is going to go out there without the 2 top wide receivers on the team and get it done. I don't think it's going to happen, especially when you consider that LSU's secondary is pretty well intact. You'll see Austin Burton as the quarterback for Purdue. I've talked about him a couple times. Long, rangy, 6th-year player, same signing class as Justin Jefferson and Miles Brennan. I've said that a few times. He's fine. He's a decent runner. He's got enough arm. He's fine. But I don't think he's going to consistently win in second and third and distance plays. I don't think he's going to consistently win in the red zone. I think he's just a mediocre college quarterback. And it's tougher for a mediocre college quarterback to chop you up than it is to just turn around and hand it to a running back who's knocking on a 1,000-yard season and have him run. You got to find a way to stop the run. That's huge for LSU. And that's really the biggest variable in this game is how does LSU play up front against a running back who's been pretty decent this year. There shouldn't be any variable in the fact that Purdue has had opt-outs in their secondary and defensive front, and it wasn't all that great to begin with. And your offense is intact. You should go out there and score 30 or 35 points. And I'll try this one more time. It's probably very stupid to try, but I'm going to try it one more time. I told you when LSU went to Auburn after Auburn had been embarrassed by Penn State, had looked really lackluster against Missouri. Look, things are real tenuous over there with Harsin. If you can go in there and you can deliver the first couple of punches, you may get that stadium and that team to lay down a little bit. What happened? You got down 17-0. It was a disaster. So, no, they didn't lay down. They were rip-roaring and ready to go. Then I told you, hey, this has been a really bad year for Texas A&M. Everybody's down on Jimbo. Fan base hates Jimbo. Players might hate Jimbo. They got suspensions. They lose every week. They barely scored any points against UMass in the rain last week. This program's on some rocky footing. If you can go out there and deliver a punch, you may get them to lie down. It's hard to do, but you can see it. They might. What happens? You let them go right down the field and score. A-Chain's going nuts. Crowd's going crazy. And you just get your butt kicked. So why would I go back to that well? Well, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Brian Brom has no allegiance to Purdue anymore. The best players on the team said, we quit. Transfer portal's wide open. New sheriff in town who hadn't taken the reins yet. If it's 21-0 in the second quarter, how fired up is this Purdue squad going to be? Make the second half easy on yourself. You were better to start with, significantly, and all their best players just quit. So it would stand to reason you could deliver a knockout punch pretty early in this Citrus Bowl. Now, I'm fully aware that I have swung and missed violently twice this year on this exact talking point. So it could happen again. You could come out, turn the ball over, Purdue runs a gadget play, all of a sudden you're down 14-0. Seems like that's what happened against Auburn and Texas A&M. But it's a talk show. It's a football game. These are the tea leaves I'm reading, and you ought to be able to go in there and handle this group. Whether or not LSU does it in a game that nobody around here seems to care about, so why does LSU care about it? Remains to be seen. Talent to talent, this is not a competitive football game. But that's why they play it. They'll play it on Monday. I want to get you caught up on what we're going to do from a radio perspective on game day, which is the 2nd of January, coming up on Monday. 104.5 ESPN, not going to do our live shows all day. It's going to be a game day. So the Eagle 98.1 game day with Charles Hannegriff and Matt Musso going to air live from Rouse's, Burbank and Lee, starting at 8 a.m. They will go for 2 hours, 8 a.m. to 10. That's when they're hand off to the LSU Sports Radio Network. That is me, Brandon Taylor, and Marlon Favorite. We'll be with you from 10 to 11:30. Then we'll toss it over to Orlando to the broadcast team of Chris Blair, Doug Morrow, and Gordy Rush. They'll have the call of the game. Once it goes final, 30 minutes after it goes final, we'll have the Fighting Tiger postgame report with myself, Marlon, and Brandon. 90 minutes after it goes final, Charles Hannegriff back at the Rouse's, Burbank and Lee for Eagle 98.1 Game Day's postgame show. That will also be 2 hours. So 2 hours on Eagle 98.1 Game Day and 2 hours on Eagle 98.1 Game Day postgame show around the LSU Sports Radio Network broadcast of the game. So things will crank up at 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll go through the game, and we'll go through game day, and then it's a nice little double dip for those around here because after everything, the dust settles in the Citrus Bowl, it'll be a huge Monday night game. Joe Burrow and the Bengals taking on the Bills in Cincinnati, so big football watching day. We'll be back to our regular scheduling program on this station, 104.5 ESPN, coming up on Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning. My days are shot over the last 2 weeks. On Tuesday morning, we'll be back in action on ESPN Baton Rouge. All right, Saints and Eagles going to go at it on Sunday. We'll break that one down next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Black Widow Jeep Gladiators in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Service Mastery Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Mastery Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Mastery Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111.
Week 17 in the NFL. Tune in on Sunday as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers host the Carolina Panthers at noon, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Saints still holding on for dear life. We'll see what they can do up in Philly. I think everyone is pretty well aware of the situations with the two franchises, where they are currently this season, the assets the Saints have provided the Eagles. And this game has a lot of storylines weaving through it. It would probably be a little bit more interesting if C.D. Deuce was playing. Not. But you also know what Jalen Hurts has done to the Saints over the last couple of years. His rookie year, just torched the Saints. 3 touchdowns on the ground, 69 yards. And the Eagles scored 40 points in that game. It was a 40-29 win. And then a year later, you turn around and Hurts runs for 106 more yards. In neither game was he really great through the air. He threw for 147 in one and 167 in the other. That's not exactly earth-shattering, but the ground stuff has really caused the Saints problem. And you know that by now. You know that the Saints have had their issues with mobile quarterbacks. I just don't think you're going to see a mobile quarterback on Sunday. I don't believe Jalen Hurts is going to play in this game. I know there are reports that he's back at practice a little bit, but this Eagles team has too much on the line in January to be risking anything in this game. And it's not like Minshew can't play. Gardner Minshew last week in relief duty threw for 355 yards and 2 scores. He turned it over twice, but he's a functional quarterback in an offense that is full of weapons. And it's not like the Eagles just have to win one more game. Maybe none if they get help, but they only have to win one more. Why push it? It feels like it'll be Gardner Minshew. We know the Eagles clinched the 1 seed with a win. But either way, whoever the Eagles start, whether it's Hurts or Minshew, it's going to be a heavy dose of the ground game with Miles Sanders and company. Only 4 teams in the history of the NFL have run for more touchdowns than the Eagles have this year. Now, they are going to be without one of their best players. Lane Johnson, their right tackle, is an all-pro type player. He's dealing with a couple of injuries right now. He really should have surgery on this abdominal deal, but he's going to hold off and try to help him in the playoffs. But he's not going to play the next 2 weeks. That obviously includes this game on Sunday. So, hey, Cam Jordan, you're going to have a reserve over there. Let's see a couple plays. Let's see you get up the field and rush the passer. The Saints defense has been Jekyll and Hyde. At times they've looked really strong. At times they've looked like a sieve. And against this Eagles offense, it's been really tough. But again, I think the Eagles offense is going to look a lot different. I do think the Eagles are going to score. We talked to Luke yesterday, Luke Johnson, who covers the Saints for the Advocates. Like, yeah, I have a hard time seeing the Saints really limiting the Eagles. They're going to have to keep up with Andy Dalton. And it's a tall ask because I think what gets the most pub from the Eagles is the offense. Is Hurts playing at MVP level? Is A.J. Brown making big plays? Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders. They've got a ton of guys that do a lot on the offensive side. What doesn't get as much love, or maybe it does, I just haven't seen it, is just how tenacious they've been up front on defense. They lead the NFL in sacks. They've got 61. They've had 6 sacks in each of their last 3 games. And now you're looking at a Saints offensive line that does not have Cesar Ruiz and is very questionable to have Andrus Peat or not. You take your starting guards out and you put this front up there with Reddick, who's got 14 sacks, and Sweat, who's got 11 sacks, and Hargrave, who's got 10 sacks, and it starts to be pretty daunting. You've got a banged-up offensive line and a quarterback that can't move at all. So, for the 467th time it seems this year, I would really get Taysom involved. Somehow, some way, you played a half of football last week and in the frigid weather and decided that he wasn't going to be a main piece to the puzzle. Now, he was in the second half, but he wasn't in the first half. Traditional offense to me in this one, if you've got Olave on the bench and you certainly don't have Michael Thomas and you're looking at that group of receivers, it's not exactly a bunch of Pro Bowlers, and you've got a banged-up offensive line and a quarterback that can't move, dropping back and running traditional offensive sets and trying to throw the football seems like a tough proposition. Got to run the ball, get Kamara going somehow, some way, David Johnson, whoever it's got to be, and Taysom. I think that's your best chance to move the football. Weather's going to be better than last week. Crowd's going to be far more into it than last week. You're walking into a hornet's nest up there in this thing. Those Philly fans, they're no joke with any of those sports when their teams get going. I mean, did you see the World Series crowds, the NLCS crowds for the Phillies? It's going to be double that for the Eagles. Trying to clinch this and get that bye in home field throughout. I'm not hitching my wagon to Andy Dalton throwing the ball to Hashim Shaheed and Marquez Callaway and Jawan Johnson. Like, that's, just say that out loud. Best pass rush productivity-wise in the league, banged up offensive line, immobile quarterback, depleted wide receiver core. You got to run it. 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 You got to go Taysom. Let him throw it a little bit, because when he does throw, every time he has a pass play called, there is an option for him to run there. Keep him off schedule. Hope you get a turnover or two from a quarterback who did turn it over twice last week. And maybe you stay in it. It's a tall ask. I'm not picking the Saints to win this weekend. But they, as we talked to Luke yesterday, they got a little bit of positive mojo in that locker room for the first time all year. Because, yeah, you got that win over Atlanta to start, but then you stunk in Carolina and things kind of unraveled, and you hadn't been able to put together back-to-back decent weeks all year. You finally won 2 games in a row. You've won 3 out of 4. There's a little bit of positive juice. It's, in all honesty, too little too late, in my opinion, but there's something there. Keep it rolling early. Don't do something that's going to take you out of the game immediately, which is Dalton turning the ball over. Got to get Taysom involved and try to keep that thing close in the fourth quarter so you can make it a game late. I don't expect that to happen. I think the Eagles take care of business in this game, and I don't think that you see Jalen Hurts play. That's just kind of where I am on this game on Sunday. But as of 3 weeks ago, we wouldn't have thought the Saints could get to this point. How big is that Bucs loss now? Man, that is season breaker that you couldn't hang on in the last 2 minutes of that football game. But we'll see what happens. Saints and Eagles coming up on Sunday. When we come back, we'll set the stage for the rest of the NFL weekend. There is a lot on the line. I kind of grown to like this segment a lot. I give you some interesting stats that I pull off the net from here or there. Kind of give you some thoughts on what we'll see in the NFL this weekend. That's next on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Go to BayouFord.com. BayouFord.com. Whether you're in the market for a Mustang, maybe you're in the market for an SUV like an Explorer, an Expedition. They've got the Ford Bronco. They got the Bronco Sport, a little smaller. Maybe you're in the market for a truck, F-150, the F-150 Lightning. They've also got the Black Widow Edition. Maybe you're in the market for a smaller SUV like an Edge. They've got it all at Bayou Ford. And if they don't have exactly what you want, it says it right there on the website. Don't settle. Don't settle because you don't see the car that you have in your brain. Let Ben Gagne and his crew deliver that car that is right there in your brain to your door. That's how it works. 60 to 90 days, they can customize the vehicle, have it turned around, and have one of their 6 full-time drivers drive it right to you. No longer do you have to walk the lot for an hour and a half, test drive 5 or 6. No, you don't have to do all that. In fact, 75% of the people who shop with Bayou Ford customize their vehicle. 50% never set foot on the lot. Different era of car buying, and Bayou Ford has got you covered. Bayou Ford, the website is BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford, where they're going to do right by you.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've got that blue sky, I've got that sunshine.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2022 Ford F-150, plus no payments for 90 days and 2.9% APR for 72 months. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you. Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Black Widow Jeep Gladiators in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop. and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage.
So join us for Friday's AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Mario and I guest host and send you into the new year talking LSU Purdue, Saints Eagles, Pels Sixers. Friday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's do a Citizens Bank poll question of the day here. Just thought of something. Which New Orleans versus Philadelphia matchup are you more interested in this weekend? Pels Sixers or Saints Eagles? How about that? I feel like the Saints are going to win that in a landslide, but I'm always curious to see what percentage of the audience is truly invested in the Pels at this point in the calendar. I think we have discussions about it here at the station. Matt is and now he's in New Orleans and I'm not, so there's a little bit of a difference there in the where the show is broadcast. But he says, look, people are really locked in. In my circles, that's not necessarily the case, but I'm fully aware that my circle is not a relative sample size to the entire market that we broadcast to. I mean, we know that people are locked in on LSU, all three sports. We know that people care about the Saints, specifically when they're good. I just don't know how much people buy in to the Pelicans. Let's see what that poll has to say at the end of the show. We do this every single week, our NFL tier list. Start with Tier 4, which is the worst football of the weekend, and move up to Tier 1, which is must-see TV. Of course, everybody in action this weekend in the NFL. No buys this late in the season. So Tier 4, games that just don't mean anything to anybody. The Cardinals are at the Falcons. Desmond Ridder, if you want to laugh at the Falcons because you're a Saints fan, is 0-2 as a starter. The last Atlanta quarterback start 0-2 was Chris Miller. He was 1987. Last Falcons quarterback to start 0-3 in his first three starts as a Falcon was in 1987, Chris Miller. So not much intrigue with the Cardinals and the Falcons. The 49ers at the Raiders. Of course, the Niners are very, very good. The Raiders are not. They have moved on from Derek Carr. It's Jarrett Stidham's season over there in Vegas. 49ers have already clinched. They're not going to get the number 1 seed. So the Raiders are toast. This game doesn't mean anything. The 49ers are very likely going to get that 2 seed, and the Raiders are on their way to rebuilding things. The Rams are at the Chargers. That's in Tier 4. The Chargers are in the playoffs. They've clinched. They're not going to do much more than that, and the Rams are out. This is a matchup between teams that nobody cares about in a city that hosts both of them. How about that? I feel bad for Chargers fans. I was talking to Hester about that a couple of months ago. He says there's still a contingent of San Diego fans that will drive up there and see the Chargers, but more often than not, when the Chargers and Rams play, it's just an invasion of other teams' fans. So we'll see who gets the most seats sold in this one, but it's two teams that don't necessarily attach very well to their home city. So that's Tier 4. That's the worst action of the weekend. Tier 3, getting a little bit better. Bears are at the Lions. Get this. It's not that surprising because of what Fields has done, but the Bears lead the NFL in rushing. They could lead the NFL in rushing and get the first pick. When was the last time a team who led the NFL in rushing had the worst record in the league? I don't think it's going to happen, but it's impressive. The Lions, meanwhile, who are still clinging to the hope that they can make the playoffs, gave up 320 rushing yards last week to Carolina. So is the matchup bad? It might be. The Bears would like to lose. Their fans certainly would. But the Lions better stop the run a little bit better than they did last week. Tier 3 Broncos are at the Chiefs. The only real intrigue on this one statistically is Patrick Mahomes in his career is 10-0 against the Broncos as a starter. If he goes 11-0, that'll tie the best mark by a quarterback against an opponent in the Super Bowl era. So we'll see. I think it's probably going to happen. It's in Arrowhead. The Broncos stink on ice, and the Chiefs are good. So I think the Chiefs will take care of their business. The Giants are at the Colts. I've got that in Tier 3. Winning, you're in for the Giants, which is a big deal for them, obviously. They're 5-0 against the spread after a loss. They lost last week. Coming back. Can they cover? Can they win? The Colts are pretty bad. I think they probably can. The Browns are at Washington. This is in Tier 3 as well. Carson Wentz coming right up. Washington has not scored 21 or more in a month to this point. The Browns already been eliminated from the playoffs, so this is not very entertaining football. But Deshaun Watson is back. Wentz coming back to start. There's a little bit of intrigue there, so I pulled it out of Tier 4. That was probably generous on my part, I'll be quite honest. Also, Tier 3, the Jags are at the Texans. Now, when these two teams met in Week 5, Trevor Lawrence threw 2 interceptions without throwing a touchdown. Since that game in Week 5, Trevor Lawrence has thrown 16 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. Now, this game's totally meaningless to Jacksonville, even though they're still trying to get into the playoffs. Win or lose, they've just got to beat Tennessee next week to win the South. Anybody have their ticket for Jacksonville to win the South as of 2 months ago? I did not think so. They certainly can, thanks to an absolute implosion by a Colts team that a lot of people thought was going to be good. And the Titans have fallen apart as well. So here come the Jags trying to kick that door down and get back to the playoffs with a quarterback who seems to be finding his footing in his third year in the league. Second year in the league. Yeah, second year in the league. Number 2, Tier 2. Dolphins at the Patriots. Winner of this game controls its destiny next week. The Dolphins have not won back-to-back years in New England since 1999-2000. That is not surprising because that's when Brady took over. But they would accomplish that because they won there last year. So this is a monster game between the Dolphins and the Patriots. Winner controls its destiny for next week. The Panthers are at the Bucs. I've got that in Tier 2. It's a win and you're in. You win the division for Tampa Bay. The Bucs this year are 0-7 when they allow 20 points. They're 7-1 when they hold their opponents under 20. Not exactly a heartwarming tale for that Bucs offense that can't block anybody and can't run the ball. But their defense has been good enough 7 times, and that's when they've won games. So 20 is a sweet spot. Do we think this Panthers team can get to 20? We'll just have to see. The Jets are at the Seahawks. Geno Smith playing the team that drafted him. Now, Seattle's lost 5 of 6. The Jets have to win to stay alive, and basically Seattle has to win to stay alive. They got to do a lot of gymnastics in Week 18 if they don't win this game. So I don't know that anybody thinks either of these two teams is a real threat in the playoffs, but they're playing basically for their lives in this game, which makes it interesting. I put it in Tier 2, even though I don't think either one of those teams is very good. Another Tier 2 game, the Steelers are at the Ravens. If the Steelers lose this game, that's the first losing season in Mike Tomlin's career in Pittsburgh. The Ravens have to win and beat Cincinnati next week to win the division. So it's a monster game for both teams. Don't you know Mike Tomlin wants that clean resume? He wants to win the last 2, make sure he doesn't have a losing year. Certainly would love to do it against Baltimore, that's been as heated a rivalry as there's been in the league over the last 15 years. And for the Ravens, trying to win the division and get that home playoff game. I think all the metrics would point to Cincinnati being that team, and we certainly hope so. But Cincinnati's got Buffalo on Monday night, and then you got the Ravens. So here we go. That's tier 2. And then finally, tier 1, must-see TV. This has got division implications. It's got playoff implications. It's a big one for the Vikings and the Packers. Now, Justin Jefferson, your Fighting Tigers of LSU, is 418 yards from the single-season NFL yardage record. Now, that's a bit watered down with the extra game. I get that. But still, if you can get that record, what do I always talk about? If you listen to this show, I did it last week when he got named to the Pro Bowl with Jamar and Joe. Any chance I get to brag on or bring up the 2019 team and the legacy they continue to build, I'm going to do it. And if Jets can go for 418 yards somehow over the next 2 weeks and set that record, you don't think that adds another feather in the cap of the 2019 team? Of course it does. So I'm pulling for that. He went nuts against the Pack in week 1. Went for 180 and a couple scores. Now for the Packers, this game is so big because the percentages are what they are. They don't always work, but it paints a picture for you. If they win this game in Lambeau against the Vikings, they've got a 61% chance to make the playoffs. Better than a 50-50 shot. If they lose, they've got a 4% chance to make the playoffs, which is almost nothing. So you see the kind of demeanor that Aaron Rodgers is conducting interviews with. He's going on the McAfee show. He's talking, got kind of laid-back swagger. He thinks they've found something. Now, he's always wired like that with a bit of an arrogance, and that comes with being one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. I think he thinks they've figured it out, and I think that the public believes the Packers are going to win this game because you look at the history of the Packers, how they've dominated that division. Rodgers' cousins. You lean one way every time in that one. I'm going to take Minnesota. Let's see if they've turned the corner here. You may, at that point, take control of the division in the big picture, not just this year where you got it. But you could knock the Packers out of the playoffs. You could maybe force Aaron Rodgers out of town to retirement, whatever he may do. Then you've got the team that's favored to win the division, that should be looked at as a contender for next year. Is anybody scared of Detroit? No. Is anybody scared of Chicago? No. You slay the big bad wolf. Maybe you're that next guy. So that's my must-see TV tier 1 for the weekend. That sets you up for the NFL. Tons to get to in hour number 2. Want to go through the remaining SEC teams that have bowl games this weekend. I want to talk about the college football playoff games coming up this weekend. Pels and Sixers coming up tonight. But to end hour number 1 here for our last show of the year, I'm going to give some predictions for the 2023 calendar year. Come back with me for that to close out hour number 1 on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. And all December long, we have had the pleasure of telling you about Mimosa Handcrafted. Mimosa Handcrafted creates Louisiana local handcrafted jewelry. Been a passion of Madeline Ellis's for years. She was a landscape architect. Her husband Dawson said, hey, don't do that anymore. Do what you love. What she loves is Mimosa Handcrafted. So they opened their first brick and mortar location at 541 South Eugene here in Baton Rouge. And the coolest thing about Mimosa Handcrafted is that they donate 1% of every sale through the Goods for Good program, which allows customers to select from a list of charitable causes like the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank or the Mental Health Association for Greater Baton Rouge. So 1, you get great jewelry handcrafted here in Baton Rouge. 2, you do something for those in need as well. That's what makes Mimosa Handcrafted a champion of Louisiana. LWCC loves champions of Louisiana. If you know one like Mimosa Handcrafted, go to lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions. Nominate someone so we can tell their story. Mimosa Handcrafted been a champion of Louisiana all December long. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2022 Ford F-150, plus no payments for 90 days and 2.9% APR for 72 months. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
A third of youth who grow up in foster care are homeless 18 months after aging out of care. But you can rewrite that story. Change a child's story. Become a volunteer today.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar.
Lock and Week Friday presented by Tex Morris and Edward Jones Investments. We're at Rufino's. That's right. Game Time presented by Bet Rivers on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Friday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., which includes Handy Tom.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Duke's Mayo Bowl going. Winning coach, of course, going to get a Mayo bath here. Maryland 13, NC State 9. They play with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. Got Talia Tagovailoa taking snaps for Maryland. No, of course, Devin Leary for NC State. He got hurt, and now he's headed to Kentucky. But the Mayo Bowl is on if you're looking for something to watch. But you can hang out with us if you're not into the Mayo Bowl. Let's close out hour number 1 here with some predictions for 2023. I thought about trying to go like super bold here, but instead I was like, let's see if we can get some of these right. So they're not like pathetic, but I don't think they're the most outlandish things you've ever heard. But let's just make some predictions here. Prediction. In this current women's basketball season, which will of course end in 2023, and in the baseball season that starts in about 7-8 weeks, both LSU's baseball and women's basketball teams will reach the Final Four. I hope they do better. I hope both do better than that. I didn't say that was all they would reach, but they will both reach the Final Four. I think Kim Mulkey's doing an awesome job. I will not sit here and pretend to tell you that I can give a scouting report on the top 8 teams in women's basketball. I can just tell you that Kim Mulkey is a hell of a coach, and LSU is beating the brakes off everybody, and this recruiting class looked good, the transfer class looked good, and they're crushing people. So I'm going to go ahead and say they're good. I'm going to make the prediction that baseball and women's basketball in 2023 both reach the Final Four. Quickly following that, Dylan Cruz, I believe, will be the first pick in the Major League Baseball draft. I think he's that good. There are a lot of guys that are circling around there. Chase Dolander is thought of as an unbelievable amateur arm. He'll be Tennessee's Friday night guy this year. He was sensational last year, SEC Pitcher of the Year. I think Cruz is better. I think Cruz is going to be the number one pick. I think he's going to have a monster junior season, and I believe his name will be first off the board to the Pirates, which is very, very sad to me as an NL Central fan, but good for him. So I think Dylan Cruz will be the number one pick. Here's one. In 2023, I don't believe any SEC football coaches are going to be fired. I don't think Jimbo's going to get fired. It would crack me up if it did happen, but I don't think it is. That's a massive buyout, and I don't know that they're going to be as bad next year. They might be. It'd be great. I'd love it. But I don't think he's going to get fired. I don't think the bottom's going to fall out on Sam Pittman. I think Clark Lee had some improvement this year. Their signing class has been decent. Eli Drinkwitz just got a contract extension. And I guess Beamer could go 1-7 or something. That would be year 3 for him. But Napier, Kelly, Saban, not going to fire Hugh Freeze after a year. Stoops, I doubt it. I'm running out of names. I doubt Kirby gets fired. It doesn't feel like it's likely. I don't think any SEC football coach is going to get fired next year. That's a prediction. We'll see. I do think Dennis Allen's going to get fired in 2023. Most people around the beat don't believe it's going to be in the next 3 weeks, which makes sense. It's not the kind of organization the Saints want to be. They want to be loyal. They want to be consistent. They want to back the people that they bring in. Dennis Allen's done a lot of really good work in that organization. They had a lot of injuries this year. I don't think it's going to be in 3 weeks, but it could be next year. There's a lot of shakeup that's got to go on in that Saints organization. I think we all know that. So I'll go out there and predict it. I think Dennis Allen may get fired. And the last one is an LSU-centric deal, just centers around golf. I think this is the calendar year that Sam Burns gets in the hunt on the back nine of a major. I don't know if it's at Augusta. I don't know if it's at Country Club of Los Angeles. He's got the game to play wherever he needs to. U.S. Open setups that are long with penal rough and fast greens, he's fine there. Augusta, he can play that. He's a good enough iron player and certainly a good enough putter to go overseas and win an Open championship. There's not a hole big enough in his game where he's got to have it play in a certain way. He's been in the fires now. He's played major championships for a few years now. He's won on tour. He's made huge putts in the Ryder Cup, which is as nerve-wracking as a President's Cup. It's as nerve-wracking as you can be out there. I think he's ready to become one of the top 10 players in the world. Shreveport boy. We're all incredible golfers, myself included, elite player. Not quite on Sam's level. I'm kidding. But I think this is the year for Sam Burns is ready to knock on the door and hopefully kick it down. You saw Will Zalatoris get in the mix so many times and he didn't quite get there yet. But you think he's close coming back from injury. Sam Burns is in that vein. He's been in the fire enough to make it happen. So those are I'm trying to be right here on some predictions. Baseball and women's basketball both in the Final Four. Dylan Cruz, number 1 overall pick. No SEC football coaches get fired in 2023. Dennis Allen does. And Sam Burns in the hunt on the back nine of a major. So that's my predictions for 2023. If you're in the Bayou Ford chat, you want to throw some in there. I'm already getting roasted in there saying I'm Captain Obvious. I'm trying to be right, Brian Burgess. I'm just trying to those aren't too obvious. Like I said, LSU will beat Grambling next year. Give me a little credit there. Those are my predictions. Give me some in the Bayou 4 chat if you've got them. Still a ton to get to in hour number 2. If you missed any of hour number 1, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com. You can catch it on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, on YouTube. Anywhere you find your audio, you can find all of our stuff. I opened the show talking about LSU and Purdue. I gave you kind of a breakdown of the game, what it's going to take for LSU to win, and painted a pretty rosy picture, I think, of that bowl game. Talked Saints and Eagles a little bit, not as rosy in painting that one, as you might imagine. Went through the NFL tiers list. Gave you the menu for this weekend in the National Football League. That was at 1:30, so go check all that out on demand. Second hour is going to be a lot of fun. Want to talk about the remaining games for SEC teams in the bowl season. Want to talk about the college football playoff as that gets cranked up. And a lot more. We'll have some take it or leave it to finish things off. One more hour left in the year for the Hunt Palmer Show. Come back with us right after SportsCenter. You're listening to 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
Is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Dolphins will turn to quarterback Teddy Bridgewater Sunday against the Patriots. Starter Tua Tagovailoa remains in concussion protocol. He has made progress, but Tua will not play. He sustained his second documented concussion of this season in the loss to Green Bay. The Cowboys not apologizing for their 14-point win over the Titans last night, a game in which Tennessee rested several key players. In the opinion of quarterback Dak Prescott, a win is a win. He did admit, though, they've got some things to clean up, and one of those is turnovers, says ESPN's Rob Ninkovich.
Can the Cowboys play like they've been playing with turnovers? Can you play that way in the playoffs and win? I don't think so, because in the playoffs, just from experience, one or two of those turnovers could basically turn into points that you can't recover from.
Rob Ninkovich on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Prescott has 14 interceptions, tied for most in the NFL. After a new AL record 62 home run season, Yankee star Aaron Judge named AP Male Athlete of the Year.
Hi, this is Max Kellerman from Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. All of us here at ESPN Radio would like to wish you happy holidays and a happy new year.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
1 hour left on the year here for the Hunt Palmer Show. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully your week is done from a work perspective or getting there. And we got a long weekend for a lot of us coming up. I'll be doing a little work on Monday with pre and post game, but that ain't work. That's watching some football. It's going to be a great weekend of football watching. The SEC has not been great in bowl season to this point, but they do have a lot of quote unquote bigger games, if any bowl game is considered big at this point, to make things change a little bit. It starts coming up here in about 30 minutes with the Tax Slayer Bowl from Jacksonville. That'll be Notre Dame and South Carolina. These two teams have played pretty well late in the season. Of course, the Irish had won 8 of 9 before they lost that game to Southern Cal. And South Carolina has won 7 of 9, including those 2 big ones against Tennessee and Clemson. These two coaches, Shane Beamer and Marcus Freeman, trying to build a program. Shane Beamer inherited one that was in a pretty big mess, and things didn't get off to a very good start for Marcus Freeman, losing your first 2 games as a head coach there at Notre Dame. But as things kind of move forward, we talk about this time of year, can you create any momentum? I kind of minimize it, but some believe in it. And this is a game that would be nice for both to win. I think it's bigger for South Carolina than it is for Notre Dame. Notre Dame's program was in a better spot. Notre Dame's brand is a lot stronger. I think that Notre Dame is in a better situation overall than South Carolina is, especially doing what Clemson has done over the last 10 years in that state. So any win Shane Beamer can get against high-profile programs, you take it. And they've got an opportunity here coming up in the Tax Slayer Bowl. It's going to take a lot from Spencer Rattler, and he has been sensational the last 2 games. Against Tennessee and Clemson, Spencer Rattler, 55 of 86, that's 64%, for 399 yards per game, so 400 yards a game, 8 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Now, for those 2 games, he had thrown 8 touchdowns and 2 picks. Previous to that, in the entire season, 8 touchdowns and 8 picks. So he's really stepped it up. Notre Dame's starting quarterback, Drew Pine, is transferred. He's gone. So Tyler Buckner, who was their original starter before he got hurt, is going to take the snaps today. He will not have Michael Mayer, who had the best stats for any tight end this year. If you put him up against Brock Bowers statistically, Mayer blows him away. But Bowers plays for a better team, is a little bit more high profile, had to highlight real plays. He wins the Mackey Award. But I kind of like the way South Carolina finished the year. And their quarterback's playing well. Notre Dame's going to a backup quarterback without their best playmaker. I'm going to go with South Carolina in this game. They're catching 3.5 points. I think that's the side the public is on. I'll take it. That game's coming up here on ESPN in a matter of about 25 minutes. Tonight, Tennessee and Clemson in the Orange Bowl. A lot of orange in the Orange Bowl. Clemson's a 5.5-point choice. There's a pretty significant reason for that. Tennessee is going to play this game with no Hendon Hooker. They're going to play this game with no Jalen Hyatt. They're going to play this game with no Cedric Tillman. Huge defections for what was the highest flying offense in the country for 2 months. Now, we know that Clemson's moved on from DJU. He's in the transfer portal. He's headed out west. And for Clemson, 2 huge defections on the defensive front. Miles Murphy is at an edge, who's going to be maybe a top 5 pick. Trenton Sampson at linebacker, who's probably a first-round pick. I like Cade Klubnik at quarterback. I think he's better than DJU. I think he's got some swagger to him. I think he's got a big arm. And I think he's going to try to make some plays. And Tennessee's passing game, pass defense, was a question mark all year long. Reared its ugly head in the South Carolina game for sure. For Tennessee, to me in this game, the key is twofold. One, I think I like Josh Heupel. I think he does a good job on game day. I think he schemes up great plays. I think they create space as well as anybody, and that tempo is awesome. And he's had a month to get Milton ready to do that. It certainly looked fine against Vanderbilt. What does it look like against Clemson? To me, for Tennessee, run the ball. Do you see what Jamari Small did in Tiger Stadium? He's running wild. Clemson's got some front 7 guys that aren't playing. Hand the ball off. And then run up to the line of scrimmage and hand it off again. Got to be the run game for Tennessee in this one. But I like Clemson to win it. And I like them to cover. I like Klubnik. And I think Tennessee, without its trigger man and Hooker and its 2 best playmakers at wide receiver, albeit Tillman was out most of the year. And they've got some other guys. But I like Clemson. I would lay the points in this one. Whew. Iowa and Kentucky, huh? You want to have a bad time? Nobody wants to have a bad time, but if you want to have a bad time, bet the over. Sit there with your hard-earned cash dependent upon these 2 teams scoring points. Now, you only got to get to 31. But my good, listen to these statistics from the Iowa Hawkeyes. Scoring offense. Keep in mind, there are 131 teams in the country. Scoring offense, they're 123rd. Run offense, 122nd. Pass offense, 127th. Total offense, 130th. New Mexico is the only total offense worse than the Iowa Hawkeyes. And they've won 4 of 5 because their defense has been so good. Number 6 scoring defense in the country. Top 15 run defense. Top 10 pass defense. Number 4 total defense. And now you're looking at a Kentucky team that comes in here. They ranked when they had the first round quarterback and one of the best running backs in the history of the school. They were 105th in the country in scoring offense. And now they don't have those guys. I dare you to take the over. 31. You just need 4 scores. 31. Oh. It's in Florida. It's not in a blizzard. That is a brutal one coming up tomorrow at 11 o'clock on ABC. At 11 o'clock on ESPN, it'll be the Sugar Bowl between Alabama and Kansas State. Interesting one. If you've listened to the show, you've heard me talk for a little bit about how Bama struggled in this spot under Saban. Now, I'm not here to tell you that this group is going to react the same way that the team did 10 years ago. But for that program to come off the college football playoff pedestal and play, sometimes it hasn't gone well. Trevor Knight got after him. Utah beat him. You get the picture. Now, here's little old Kansas State. Little old Manhattan. Coming on down, play the big boy in the Superdome. What's it going to look like? And look, man, this story has been told time and time and time again. We told it all year last year. We told it all year this year. Bama has been in dogfights for 2 years. They were in a dogfight with Texas this year, dogfight with A&M, dogfight with Tennessee, LSU. They lost those two. They were in a dogfight with Ole Miss, who had the ball and a chance to beat them. The only teams they really ran away from this year were Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Auburn. And K-State's well coached, and, you know, they're going to be really fired up to play. They're going to start Will Howard at quarterback, who's 6'5", 235. He doesn't move very well. So that's a big red flag when you got Dallas Turner and Will Anderson coming off the edge, and those guys are playing. But Howard's thrown 12 TDs, 1 interception in the last 5 games. He's been pretty good. And Deuce Vaughn's hard to prepare for. You don't always have a guy you can stick back there who's 5'6" with the quicks that Deuce Vaughn has. That's just something you gotta play and you gotta deal with. And when you think of Kansas State and Bama, you think of the blue chips versus the blue collar, right? Kansas State's going to have the 3 and 2 stars that nobody wanted, the JUCO kids that are hard-nosed and tough, and Bama's going to have the guys who are about to go play for the Titans, Jets, and Colts and make millions, right? But Bama has not developed this year the guys on the outside that separate them. Yeah, if Waddle and Ruggs and Judy and Smith were out there, I'd think, man, Kansas State's not going to run with those guys. But they haven't produced that. Jermaine Burton's a fine player, but is he any of the? He's not. So everything in my body says, hey, just lay the 6.5. It's Bama versus Kansas State. Just take it. I'm not. It's not one time that Bama didn't play great. For 2 years, way more often than not, they've been in really tight games against competent football teams. Last 2 A&M teams, not great. 1-1 with a chance to beat them both times. Last 2 LSU teams had a chance to beat them. Auburn last year, with TJ Finley taking snaps, had a chance to beat them. Texas this year. I mean, it's just, I'll take the points. Just kind of the way that I see the Sugar Bowl going. Bama, it would not shock me. It wouldn't shock anybody if they beat them 48-13. But I'm taking the points. Give me Kansas State in the 6.5. Let's look at the rest of the SEC slate. When we come back, college football playoff talk here. I've got the numbers on the semifinals. You might want to take a listen to some of these. That's next on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is on Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Winter can be magical. The Mercedes-Benz Winter Event is here, and there's no better time to check out our new Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge inventory. We have the vehicles that can make your holiday extraordinary. See all the latest technological features on the newest models during our Mercedes-Benz Winter Event. Shop our best of the best award-winning dealership. Visit mbobr.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys. For those
Week 17 in the NFL. Tune in on Sunday as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers host the Carolina Panthers at noon, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So we'll get some semifinal games tomorrow, and we're all excited about that because Bama's not in it. And you don't have to worry about that. It's college football playoff. Great. Great football. 4 teams. 1 title. You realize these games always stink? I think I knew, but then I went back and actually looked it up. This is some sad stuff to point out. There have been 16 college football playoff semifinal games. 16 of them. 2 a year for 8 years. I'm not a big math guy, but I got that licked. 16 games. 13 of the 16 have been decided by double figures. So that means there have been 3 of the 16 that have been decided by 1 score. There have been 4 decided by more than 30 points. So more often than it being inside 1 score, it's being decided by more than 30. The average margin of victory in college football playoff semifinals is 21 points. The first year, Oregon beat Florida State by 39. Bama beat Michigan State by 38 the next year. In 16, Clemson beat Ohio State by 31. Clemson beat Notre Dame by 27 and 18. We know what Joe Burrow did to Oklahoma. LSU won that game by 35. Last year, Georgia beat Michigan by 23. You can point to the 3 good games of the 16 that have been played. The first year, shout out to my cousin for getting married in New Orleans the day after the first college football playoff semifinal because they had parties and cocktail stuff to go to, and me and my dad did not. So my uncle had tickets and said, hey, I got to go do all this stuff for the wedding. Y'all want to go see Ohio State and Bama? Yes. Zeke Elliott running all over the Superdome. Great game. Ohio State won it by 7. That was a very good game. And we remember the Rose Bowl with Baker Mayfield and Georgia with Jake Fromm. That was phenomenal. Double overtime, points all over the place. That was great. And then the year LSU won the national championship, the 2019 season, you had Clemson over Ohio State, and Ohio State had the ball with a chance to win the game late. That's it. Did you realize that? 16 games, more decided by more than 30 points than there have been one-score games. And I don't have a great explanation for that. I realize that a lot of these teams were really good. Bama in 20 was really good. Georgia last year was really good. LSU in 19, really good. And then you've got teams that get in. That first Florida State team with Jameis Winston, they weren't very good. Everyone knew they weren't very good. They were coming off the national championship. They went undefeated in the ACC. You had to let them in, but they were holding on for dear life all year long, and Oregon just exposed them. Michigan State, sorry. That's not going to work. You're not playing Bama and staying on the field. They didn't. They didn't score. Washington, okay. We let you in. Had fun. Congrats, Cincinnati. That's a 21-point loss where Bama ran the ball 317 times. But they just haven't been all that close. So what do we have this year? I've got my thoughts. The first one, we'll have TCU and Michigan in the afternoon tomorrow. Michigan's a 7.5-point choice in the game. And to me, when I encapsulate Michigan's season and then I encapsulate TCU's season, I see a Michigan team that has been consistently excellent all year long. They have blown everyone out except Illinois. Week in and week out, they've been excellent. TCU has consistently been good enough. You see the difference? One team is just coming out and beating the brakes off people, putting them in a headlock, choking them out, running the football down people's throats. And one team, toys in the first half, get down a couple scores, turn the ball over, hit a big, and then it gets tight in the fourth quarter and they find a way to win. Neither schedule was phenomenal. Beat some good teams, beat up on some bad teams. But Michigan was consistently excellent. TCU was consistently good enough. Michigan's just a bully. The only team that stood up to Michigan was Illinois in a 1917 game. J.J. McCarthy has been very efficient, 65% completion, only 3 interceptions in 288 attempts. They don't have Blake Corum, but here comes Donovan Edwards. He had 216 yards against Ohio State. Then he followed that up with 185 on Purdue. He's averaging 7.5 yards a carry. Yeah, Corum's awesome, but they got another guy that's pretty good because there's an offensive line that's just beating people over the head. And Michigan's the 5th-ranked rush offense in the country, and TCU's the 65th-ranked run defense. I'm not going to overthink this thing. I think TCU is good. I think they deserve to be in the playoff based on the merit of their season. I'm taking Michigan to beat them over the head. Run the ball, break them. TCU's been tough as nails all year. They hadn't seen anything like this. They won the Big 12 in a year where Texas stinks and Oklahoma stinks. Very similar to what Missouri did in an SEC East that wasn't any good because Georgia couldn't get it figured out and Florida was in trouble and Tennessee was in the wilderness. And all of a sudden, Missouri popped up a couple years. You deserve to be in Atlanta, sure, but you can't beat Alabama or Auburn or even play with them. TCU won a bad conference, and they're going to get exposed in the game tomorrow. I'll lay the 7.5 points with Michigan. And then Ohio State, Georgia, which is what this playoff was designed to do. Give me these big brands on the national stage and give me 4 of them if we could. Now, we didn't this time. But these 2 qualify. Now, I wish Ohio State had Travion Henderson, and I wish they had Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I wish they had their full complement of weapons for C.J. Stroud to go out there and go to work, but they don't. They got Marvin Harrison Jr., and they've got Emeka Jigba, and those have got to be the guys outside. And they're going to have to win outside. We broke down Georgia for a week on this show, on this channel. What does LSU have to do to beat Georgia? Well, nobody's really going to beat them between the tackles. You're not big and strong enough. That includes you, Ohio State. You're not. So, How are you going to win? You got to win on the edges. That's what we said with LSU. Got to hit some big plays. They did. And you can say that it was a garbage time 500 yards of passing, and that's fine. Some of it was. But half of it came in the first half. Kayshawn, big play. Half of LSU's passing yards came in the first half. They were effective throwing the ball. Now, they didn't get any stops, and they had 2 fluke plays that hurt them. An interception, bounce off a helmet, and the block kick, run back for touchdown. You weren't competitive in the game. You weren't good enough to be there. But C.J. Stroud's good enough to be there. He's going to have to throw the football. Now, they got to run it some. And they will. Ryan Day's not dumb enough to try to get back there and throw it 66 times. But you got to win on the outside. And then when Georgia has the football, you don't think that Georgia looked at that tape of what Michigan did to Ohio State. Michigan made their ass quit. That's what's coming. That's what Georgia's going to want to do. We will run it. They got 4 backs that'll come at you. And it broke LSU. LSU couldn't stop the run in the second half. Same thing that happened to Ohio State against Michigan. They cannot buckle. Because Stetson Bennett, remember, in the weeks prior to LSU, against lesser teams, Kentucky being one, didn't really throw the ball that well. Didn't against Georgia Tech either. They're throwing like 115 yards a game. Stetson Bennett's a really good player, and he was incredible against LSU. It's an awful coverage half by the Tigers. Played great, and he's capable of doing that. And if he does, then Ohio State can just pack it up. They're not going to win. But if you catch him on one of those days where it's just not quite clicking, then Ohio State can keep up because Stroud is that dude. He's real good. It wasn't his fault that Michigan kept breaking off 80-yard touchdown runs in the second half against his defense. So you look at this number, and I got a lot of people saying that Ohio State's the pick. You give me points with that quarterback. I'm sorry. Not me. I'm laying the points again. What did we just lay out in the college football semis? The teams that are going to go on and win national championships, they're the dogs. That's a pun that was not intended, but I just heard it. In the semis, they run people off the field. And Georgia is going to run Ohio State off the field. So I will go ahead and lay that number as well. I think it's a Georgia-Michigan national championship game. I will tell you this. If by some chance Michigan and Ohio State win these games tomorrow, and that's the national championship, that will be the most I've enjoyed watching a national championship game outside of the LSU wins in my entire life. I have no SEC team that I got to worry about winning a national championship. I've got powerful brand names on my television, and they totally and completely despise each other and will be petrified to lose that game. If Ohio State gets beat twice in 1 year by Michigan, once for the national championship game, they may not let Ryan Day get back on the bus. And if Michigan beats them in the shoe and then loses in the national championship game, it's all for nothing. We experienced that in 2011. We know how that feels. That would be ideal. I can hardly think of a national championship game I would more rather watch than that one. It doesn't involve LSU. But I'm laying the points in the 2 semifinal games. We'll see what you think about that. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, LSU got some good news today on a player that is coming back for next year. We'll tell you who. A little more LSU Purdue talk as we close up a year here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf
Musso, join us for Friday's AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Mario and I guest host and send you into the new year talking LSU Purdue, Saints Eagles, Pell Sixers. Friday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hope your Friday's going great. If you're in the gloomy, dreary capital city, hope you're staying warm and dry wherever you may be accessing us. We certainly appreciate you for hanging out with us as we wind down the 2022 year. I previewed LSU's bowl game with Purdue in the first hour. I want to remind you of our schedule here as we get ready for the Citrus Bowl coming up on Monday. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge will not have our local schedule on Monday. We will have a game day schedule rolling here at Guarantee Media. We'll have Eagle 98.1 game day starting up at 8 o'clock in the morning. That'll be Charles Hannegriff and Matt Musso from the Rouses at Burbank and Lee. So they will crank things up at 8 o'clock. They'll go for 2 hours until 10 a.m. That's when they'll hand off to the network. I will take over with Marlon Favorite and Brandon Taylor for 90 minutes on LSU game day. So we'll go from 10 to 11:30 before the noon kickoff. I always try to do that math in my head, and I just am not good at it. It just doesn't click in my brain. We'll go from 10 to 11:30 on the LSU Sports Radio Network before we throw things to Orlando, to the broadcast team of Gordy Rush, Doug Morrow, and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. They'll have the call of the game 30 minutes after it goes final. You'll have an hour of LSU game day with us on the LSU Sports Radio Network, Marlon, Brandon, and myself. And then 90 minutes after it goes final, Charles Hannegriff will have Eagle 98.1 Game Day's post-game show, which will air from Rouse's as well for another 2 hours. So 2 hours of Eagle 98.1 Game Day before the network, and then 2 hours after the network goes final. It all starts up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and LSU will kick it off Central Time just after noon from over there in Orlando. One of the players they will have in that game is Major Burns, and one of the players they will have in the opener next year is Major Burns. The safety announced he will come back for his final year in Baton Rouge, and I think that's a very, very good thing. You are going to be replacing the vast majority of your defense. We've had this discussion a lot over the last couple of weeks, and you understand that Ali Gay and B.J. Ojolari and Jaquelin Roy are going to be gone up front. You understand that Micah Baskerville will be moving on, and you will not have him. You're not going to have Jart Bernard Converse or Mekhi Garner on the outside. Colby Richardson will be gone. Jay Ward will be gone. You're going to be replacing a lot of guys on the defense, and you've done a nice job in the signing class at bringing in some depth at corner and safety, and you're going to go into the transfer portal and bring some new guys in, but having some continuity, certainly returning coordinators for the first time in 4 years here in Baton Rouge is a very, very good thing, and Major Burns has done a great job this year when he's been on the field. He's been a sure tackler. He's been a good leader. He's been an emotional player. He was flying all over the place in the Georgia game. You really felt for him there because he's trying to play with a ton of energy and emotion against some of his former teammates in his former school, and quite frankly, you're getting your butts kicked, and that was a tough thing to look at. But Major Burns is an emotional leader on the team. He was a productive player on this past year's team. It's great to have him in the game coming up on Monday, and certainly going to be good to have him coming back. And I just saw a tweet from Brendan Sonnone on Twitter. I retweeted it. If you don't remember Brendan, he is a guy who we had on the show a couple of times getting ready for LSU and Florida State in the opener, and he just sent out a tweet. And we understand that Pro Football Focus isn't perfect. It's not the be-all, end-all, but Hester really loves to use it as a metric, and I think it's as good as any in terms of evaluating players. You're certainly not going to get that from me. I'm not going to sit here and break down film and how guys played. But Brendan Sonnone covers Florida State, and he said that Jordan Travis had an overall grade of 91.8 per Pro Football Focus. That leads all Power 5 players. He's the best Power 5 quarterback in the country per this metric, with a few games remaining across the nation. Let that sink in. He is the number one player in the country. Jordan Travis had a brilliant season. They, of course, finished their season out last night with a win in the Cheez-It Bowl, a win over Oklahoma, an Oklahoma team that was 6-6 coming in. But Travis played great again and threw for over 400 yards in the game. He's really, really good, and we got a big old dose of that in the Superdome, and you're going to get that again coming up in Orlando on Labor Day weekend. And that matchup is setting up at this point to be a top 10 matchup between two programs that are going to be trying to ascend to the next level. You had LSU take a step forward this year and win the West. Florida State took a step forward this year from the doldrums where they had been. They won 10 games this year under Mike Norvell, and their quarterback, who's the heart and soul of that team, is going to come back. So, I think bowl games far too often will be overemphasized in preseason rankings, may overreact to one here or there, and maybe that stops because of the massive amount of transfers you've got and the roster attrition that you've got in December every single year. So maybe we don't look at it quite as closely. But these two teams, especially if LSU can beat Purdue, are going to be coming off 10-win seasons. They're already name-brand programs that have won a national title in the last decade plus, and it's going to be a huge, huge showdown between those two teams. And Jordan Travis is going to be looked at as a potential All-American type guy next year. I don't think he's going to be thought of as a guy who's going to be the first pick in the draft. That's going to be a Caleb Williams, Drake May type of discussion as we sit here. But in terms of college football quarterbacks, that dude's really, really good, and they were good last night. Speaking of trying to take that next step, Texas ain't doing it. They just continue to kind of come up short. And not that the bowl game is that big a deal. It's not. But It's year 2 under Sark. Did you feel like there was a big step up there? I heard him talking about everything on Game Time earlier today from Ruffino's. And, Steve Sarkisian took over a wreck in Washington. They were literally winless the year before he got there. His first game as the coach was the game that LSU played up there to open the 2009 season. He had Jake Locker, and they ended up being decent for a couple of years after a winless year. So you do get some credit for that. But then he goes to SC and has the problems with alcohol and can't keep it together there. So he's let go. And then you go to the Nick Saban coaches clinic over there for a couple of years, and you play with an all-star team and rehabilitate your image. Bill O'Brien's going through it right now. But then he gets a massive job. Okay, what do we have to show for this right now? Are we just going to sit back and go, all right, Arch is coming, just get ready? I know Quinn Ewers looked really good before he got hurt. Man, he was slinging around against Alabama. Okay, I know all the things, but you got to win. That's 2 years. So do we kind of think moving into next year, like it's go time, or does Arch Manning's last name literally allow for a longer rope over there? I don't want to suggest you get fired after 2 years. That's not really the point. The point is, like, where are the skins on the wall for Steve Sarkisian? He had a good offense with an all-star team in Tuscaloosa and got a winless Washington program to move up a little bit. Yeah, nice job calling the offense for Pete Carroll's teams. They also had a little bit of talent. Cal couldn't quite run with him out there. Neither could the Sun Devils over there in Tempe. Oregon State Beavs not necessarily in the category with the guys that Sark had in that offense. Just food for thought. Just kind of tossing it out there as we kind of close down a year here. But good news for LSU in that Major Burns is coming back, and he'll be active for LSU in the bowl game coming up on Monday. Let's take one more time out, come back, and close out the year. It's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I always love telling you about One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com. David Duvall and his team been in the game for 30 years, renovating and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Imagine the bathroom of your dreams. Do you have it? Why not get a free consultation? Let David Duvall and his team come out to your home and talk you through it. It doesn't cost you anything. If it's feasible, let's do it. If it's not, that's okay, but at least you know. OneBathAndClosets.com, OneBathAndClosets.com. They do those tub-to-shower conversions in the bathroom that can totally revamp your current living space. And on the closet side of things, there's so many of us who have so much clutter in our lives, whether it's a million shoes on the floor, whether you're cramming suits in there. Let them come in there and see if they can help your closet open up and be a little bit more functional, whether it's cubbies, shelves they can build, compartments, mirrors. One Bath and Closets. And if you tell them that 104.5 ESPN sent you, mention my name, Hunt Palmer. In the closet game, they're not going to charge you for the rip out of your current closet or the installation of the new one. All you pay for is the closet unit itself. Give David Duvall and his team a call or head over to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. One Bath and Closets. They'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit.
Let's go, defense!
We get it done with passion for our fans and love for our community. We are the Tigers. Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's
Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris and Edward Jones Investments. We're at Rufino's. That's right. Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Friday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., which includes Handy Time.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, so let's play a little Take It or Leave It. Taylor Sharp, fire away.
All right, let's do it. South Carolina coach Shane Beamer was asked how players who have entered the transfer portal play in bowl games. He responded that he doesn't allow that, saying, I don't want guys who are 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
He was pretty open about this. He's in a conference that has a bunch of guys who can be really good coaches that aren't very interesting in front of a microphone. Shane Beamer is. I don't know if he's the best coach in the league. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's not. But he's pretty candid and said, look, if you want to, he had guys ask him, I want to transfer. I'm in the transfer portal. Can I play in the bowl game? He's like, no, because this is South Carolina football, and if you want to be here, let's do it. If not, move on. And I'm okay with that. There's a ton of player empowerment here. Some of it I think is really good. Some of it I think needs some tweaking. But that's your decision if you want to transfer. And you don't have to enter the transfer portal until after the bowl game anyway. So if you want to play, let's do that. But there are going to be consequences to that decision. And that's one of them. You don't get to play in the bowl game if you decide you want to go somewhere else. I'm with the coach here.
Oh, I love this one. The Cowboys were reportedly in talks with Terrell Owens about a return to football. The 49-year-old last played in 2010. T.O. to the big D. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that. He last played in 2010. I was still in college in 2010. Yeah, I don't think so. 49 years old. There's got to be 400 better receivers readily available on practice squads and whatnot and waivers. And guys that have gotten cut this year, I'm gonna pass on T.O. there.
So my answer to that would be based on your answer here. If we do sign T.O., will the media stop trying to push Odell to Dallas?
I think so. I mean, if you fill that roster spot with a 50-year-old.
I'll take him if they stop trying to push stuff. Fireworks on New Year's Eve. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I love professional fireworks shows. I do. We popped some fireworks up in Shreveport in a small dinner setting, like at 9:30, 10 o'clock a couple years ago up there in Shreveport. I'm not in on like Roman candle wars or putting black cats in mailboxes and stuff like kids can do. That's not great. And, Jason Pierre-Paul knows a thing or two about that, I guess. But as far as, doing things safely and responsibly, yeah, fire away. I'm all for it. I don't, some dogs don't like it. Maybe it's too late for some people. You want to shoot some fireworks on New Year's? We'll live.
Speaking of too late, staying up until midnight on New Year's Eve, take it or leave it.
You can leave it if you want. Like, last year, Myers was 3 days old. So I had the midnight feed at that point. My mom was there. Alyssa was, of course, there. So they went to sleep, and I had the Chicago and New Orleans ball drops, and then it was me and Myers hanging out on New Year's at midnight last year. He will certainly be asleep this time around. I may be, may not be. You just never know watching football. But I don't think it's necessary to stay up till midnight on New Year's. Don't have to.
Set menus and group seating for New Year's Eve. Take it or leave it.
This I'm leaving. This is, if you go to these restaurants, they make you sit shoulder to shoulder with people you don't even know. You can order like 2 things, and they need you out of there in an hour and a half. No, you gotta go to a place that can accommodate you the way that you're supposed to be accommodated at a dining establishment, or just don't go out that way. There's a lot of ways. I've done New Year's a lot of different ways over the last 15 years or so, from college to young professional to married to single to all this kind of stuff. But the set menu gets you out of here in an hour and a half, or you're cramming everybody in there. That's a no-go for me. Absolutely not.
Cabbage and black-eyed peas on New Year's Day. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I mean, I do it every year. My mom is we have a birthday party for Myers this year, and she's going to make cabbage and black-eyed peas. I guess I could say I'm a really lucky guy. I have a great family and a wonderful life, and I've got a great job that I love, and I would say that I have gotten some good luck over the years. I've yet to see the benefit of the cabbage yet. I have not gotten an exorbitant amount of cash dumped in my lap. So I'll try again this coming year, but it's been largely fruitless to this point.
What meat do you do with it?
So my mom usually does ham is in there. Sausage is certainly an option. Well, I'm not sure what her plan is this time around, but that's
we do a pork tenderloin. Pretty good.
There you go.
New Year's resolutions. Take it or leave it.
Okay. Take it. It's not going to hurt anything to have a New Year's resolution. I don't think I've ever gone through with a New Year's resolution very long. Before a wedding, one of my weddings, I lost like 35 pounds between New Year's and April the 8th. So I kept that one for 3 months. I don't think I have any New Year's resolutions this year. I'm going to try to eat a lot better and lose some pounds, but to insinuate that I'm going to be doing it the same way in September as I am on January 4th, that's not going to happen. So the New Year's resolution probably not working. All right, that's a little edition of Take It or Leave It. I guess at this point I need to pick the Citrus Bowl. We've got LSU and Purdue coming up on Monday. Got a noon kickoff. I broke the whole thing down as I see it in the first segment of the show. So if you missed it, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube. I give you those each and every day. I talked about it. And I think this is a game that Purdue is compromised on both sides of the ball. They may be compromised emotionally. They may be compromised just in terms of their engagement its entire game. And LSU, compared to a lot of teams in the country, is in pretty good shape from a roster standpoint. Yes, you've got a little bit of you're real thin on the defensive front, and your wide receiver core has taken a pretty big hit over the last 2 weeks. However, you're better than Purdue. So at this point, when I look at Purdue and I look at LSU should go out there with its starting quarterback, with its offensive line intact, with elite talent at wide receiver, a really good tight end, and plenty enough capable running backs to go out there and score 30, 35 points. And I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're just going to overwhelm a pretty poor Purdue defense that's got shredded by Wisconsin and shredded by Michigan, shredded by Penn State, and they're going to get shredded again. And I think LSU wins the Citrus Bowl by a final score of 38-20. I think it's a comfortable fourth quarter for the Tigers. They get their 10th win in year number 1 under Brian Kelly. Then you go out in the transfer portal. You go out and finish this signing class. If there's some more high school kids, you can get in the boat. And you move on into the offseason where hope will spring eternal. If you lose this game, man, is that a bummer into the season. I still don't think it matters very much when you take the field against Florida State on Labor Day weekend, but I just think that 10 wins is a nice talking point and would be a successful season that really, certainly myself and not many people in Baton Rouge would have predicted come Labor Day, certainly not after you lose game number 1. So that's going to do it, I guess, for our year here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Want to tell everybody, just have a wonderful and safe New Year's holiday. I know that people are out and about on the roads. Be very careful. Get an Uber, get a Lyft, get a driver, or just hang home. Be very, very careful on New Year's, as that can be a fun night, but also can be a little bit of a hectic night for some people as the clock turns midnight. So I'm looking forward to a little day at home watching some football, and we'll have the Myers man's first birthday party on New Year's Day. We are off on Monday for the station as a whole. It will be treated like a game day as LSU kicks off at noon. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, it'll have Eagle 98.1 game day from Rouse's, transition to the network, kickoff, network as well, and then Eagle 98.1 game day's post-game show coming up after that one. We'll be back in action coming up on Tuesday with our regularly scheduled program. Very much looking forward to that. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube. Throw us a like on the way out if you would. Casey Gaines, Taylor Sharp, thank you all for y'all's hard work all year long. Everybody have a great weekend. We are back on Tuesday. Come on, Tigers. 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.